So guys, just thought I'd build myself a new template on Ableton Live, and I thought it might be a good idea to share how this is done in order to avoid any roadblocks when I'm actually in the creation stage of my tracks. So for those of you who don't know, this is Ableton Live. This is version 10, and I'm going to start out with an absolutely empty project. I've just got one here because you need one to keep it open. The idea of making a template is basically to have a structured approach when you're writing music. Of course, you don't have to use this, but it's best to it's like setting up a virtual office with all your tools in front of you, all the sounds that you like to use shortlisted, which you can of course change later. It depends if you're looking for like a quick way to get started without worrying too much about your session. This is how you do it. So to begin with, I'm going to add 3 MIDI tracks. Shortcuts should be displayed at the bottom right of your screen, and I'm going to rename these. I think earlier I never used to rename them, but now I just do it as I go along because I end up always goofing them up later. So yeah, and we're going to call this, let's say, hats, snare or clap, whatever. Right, so once we have these guys here, I like to keep the drums very basic in the beginning, so I'm just going to call these drums, and I'm just going to have 3 more tracks, preferably MIDI. 1, 2, 3. This is for my primary bass line. This, I imagine, is for the chords, and this one right here, let's call it the lead. And let's have 2 audio tracks, and we're going to call this loop options 1, and similarly on pedestal I'll just duplicate this, command R, and then I'll just change this to loop option 2 in case you'd like to use loops. Now I don't usually exceed this because it will impact the way or the time taken for Ableton Live to boot up. So this is fairly simple. Now earlier in the day, or actually a couple of months ago, I had already saved this as a default track. So I have a FabFilter Pro Q. It's a really good EQ. I really like it. I'm very used to it. It's also dynamic, and it's got a nice interface. It's got a nice readout. I'd recommend you get it. It's a touch. Well, I mean, nowadays everything is expensive, I guess, but it's well worth its price. It's about 160 odd euro. So I've made this as my default track to begin with. I have a utility for gain staging. I have my EQ, and I'll add a compressor. Again, I'm choosing these plugins based on how fast my Ableton will load. I don't want to compromise the loading time, which is another great impediment and often makes you quite demoralized before you start your track. I'm just going to add a compressor because these are the basics I use on almost every track: an EQ, a utility, and a compressor. In this case, I'll use an Ableton compressor. Compared to the third-party plugins, of course, it's it's transparent, it reads out well, it's simple to use, which is why I go with the stock compressor here, and I can then later decide, if it's not doing the job for me, to move to another compressor depending on my purpose. And what I'm going to do is, now I've got this set up here, I'm just going to go up here for the audio track, right click, and I'm going to say save as default audio track. I'm going to overwrite mine, and now basically whenever I launch an audio track or create an audio track, it'll load up with this exact setting. It's like a channel strip of sorts. And now I saved it as a default audio track as with this name on, so that was a mistake. So let me just call this audio, let's say default. Okay, and then I'm going to again do the same thing, save as default audio track. Yes, please overwrite it. And there we have our default audio track. Similarly, for my MIDI track, I'd like to have some options, so I'll use the pitch so that I can take it up or down an octave. And this is usually pretty much it, really. So and then let's just make, I do love arpeggiators a lot if you heard any of my music, so let's just call this an arpeggiator track. It's a MIDI track again, and I'm just going to drop this mofo here, and then I'm going to save this as my default MIDI track. Actually, let me just add Filter Pro Q and a compressor, and then this becomes my default MIDI track. It'll always launch with the bass. I tagged as bass. Anyway, whatever. Okay. So now let's for my kick drum, I usually, the drum rack is good, but I prefer using impulse. I work less with transients when I use impulse. We have an impulse here, and then I'm going to quickly go through all this, and I probably will speed it up in the video. That's a Apple G I pressed right there, and I'm going to save it as Gaurav channel strip. Yeah. So now, and I'm going to mark this as a favorite right here. These all basically, it'll just like enhance your workflow. Yeah. And then I'll go to this, and I'll keep adding this shit, so it becomes much easier. And yeah, so then this is already there. Chord, GM channel strip, lead, blah, and so on and so forth. Okay, perfect. So now I've got my, let's take, my bass is always a different color because it's something worth focusing on. All melodics, let's take another color. Nice. All audio loops, let's make it yellow for now. And now let's set up our send returns. It's a lot of work actually setting up a default project, but anyway, return, let's call this big ass reverb. Okay, one of my favorite reverbs, cost effective, affordable, not just design, and it sounds amazing, is a Valhalla vintage verb right here. And I know the preset huge space is 20 seconds, and then I'm going to add my channel strip here, and then this is a big ass reverb. Let's make a plate reverb now. Insert return track, plate. For this I usually use the Soundtoys little plate. I think it was free for a while when I got it, so maybe you got it too, but if you don't, then you can check this out. Anyway, so that's the reverb, and then again I'll drop my, so the reason that I'm doing all this beforehand is that, can you imagine how much time it will take me for every element I add if I have to keep doing this? And it really does eat up a lot of your creative mind space. That's the thing. Okay, audio. Okay, I've forgotten where I was. Little plate. So that's a plate reverb. Let's mark this right as well. and then let's add 2 more. And these are for my delay. Actually, yeah, delay is fine. Delay short and delay long, and then I'm sorry, yeah, and then I'm gonna add a parallel compression channel. Insert return track, blah blah blah, that's fine. Parallel. Oh. I'm gonna mark this with an exclamation mark because this requires extra attention so that you don't goof up your mix. And to begin with, what I do is use a 1176 or any compressor that's meant for parallel compression. Let's say the AE. I don't know if this is, yeah, this is the one. And again, go back to my channel strip to shelve off some of the shit. There we are. Cool. So we got the UA. Okay, that's perfect. And then I'm just going to mark my effects, and like, since this requires attention, I'm going to make this red. And let's see, let's say green. Yeah, that's fine. Sharpen this here, sharpen that, set it up. So this is what the session view or the mix window will look like. I'll just make it a little compact. And then let's see, we go to the other view, and I already have some basics put out here, so let's just say, let's use this as let's call this what should we call this, sandbox, and let's just make it so that we can read what's happening in there easily. Okay. And then we've got these many bars. I'm going to in fact put in a MIDI channel on top right here. Call this arranger based on Presonus Studio One's amazing idea. And we're gonna, but we need this to draw attention, so let's say I used up all the colors I like. Let's just make it white for now. Anywho, so we'll mark this thing out here, insert MIDI clip, and sandbox. There we are, and we can start our track from here. Let's break it up into sections. Insert MIDI clip. This will be the track doing verse, chorus. Let's just call this break, whatever. I mean, you get the drift. Break 1, and then basically this. Yeah. Break 1, and then it's again. And you get the drift basically. I'm going to fix this later. Yeah, I think here maybe verse, chorus, break 1. If you want to rename this, click on it and rename it. Let's just call this, I mean, what do we call it? Full groove. And then we can just interchange these. See, it becomes very simple when it's all laid out in a linear format like this. press option, verse, break one song, chorus, review, whatever, outro, wrap it up, and then one more. And then as I'm making the track, I can just rename these guys like I just did. It's an Ableton R. So yeah, this is how you'd make a simple and quick loading Ableton project. This is some Max for Live devices that are missing here. It says media files, but it's not. Last step, go into preferences, open field, file folder, you gotta go to, save current set as default, save that bitch, yes please, and there you are. I'll put up a template made up of native plugins native for Ableton, and you can download it from there and tell me what you think.